Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you all, and all of you watching at home. We're going to go ahead and call this Finance and Facilities Subcommittee meeting of the whole to order. So let's start with roll call. Emily Ackman, Alana Krepshin, Sarah Phillips, here. Andre Green, Laura Patone, Eleanor Barish, Leron Bitone, Ben Ewan Campen, Katiana Ballantyne. We have quorum. The way tonight is going to work is we are going to have a great presentation by everyone in the district. Just going to share the budget with us. Then we're going to have public comment. You are welcome to comment, ask questions, make suggestions. There, if you want to sign up for public comment, the public comment sheet is right there at the table. Just put your name down. You can sign up right up until the end of the meeting. So we look forward to hearing from you. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Superintendent Carmona.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening, everyone. And I know it's raining out there, so but we are here. So welcome to our school committee, to our parents at home, to our students, to our community, and our amazing central office team. So welcome, everyone. This is an exciting night. This is the time in which we get to share our commitment to our district goals. So I'm really excited to be here. And I just wanted to highlight also that this budget is laser focused on prioritizing equity, access, and academic excellence for all our students. I'm going to start with a little bit of context in terms of our fiscal landscape. So it is no secret that the ESSER cliff looms over us. Since the onset of the budgeting process, the city has consistently conveyed that our financial landscape is more constricted compared to previous years. And we know that. We know that not only is happening here in Somerville, but it's happening in our surrounding neighbors as well. So this is not just isolated to Somerville. So with that in mind, we have had to make some very hard decisions. But I want to be clear. My guiding principles throughout this process will continue to be what is best for all our students. Through this process, I always was thinking, so what are some of the things that we always have to think about as we are exiting the COVID years, we're dealing with ESSER. And one of the questions was, how can we make sure that we address the academic gaps and also ensure that our students do not slip or are not slipping through the cracks? And also, how can we create learning environments where students and adults can thrive? So what you will see in this budget is an effort to address these questions systematically. And again, my colleagues here will be doing the same, showing you how our commitment to make sure that those realities are true for everyone. So through a lot of very hard and painstaking work, we have been able to integrate most of the ESSER-funded positions and programs into our operating budget. That was not easy, given that what the numbers have looked like in our system. So we have made these choices because it is the right thing to do. We also listened to the extensive feedback that we received from students, staff, and families throughout my entry planning process. We heard loud and clear from the SPS community that we need to rebalance our resources to prioritize student-facing initiatives, including by bolstering academics, wellness, and equity-informed practices. With this budget, we found creative ways to address many of the needs that were raised on a 7% budget that was projected from the city. We took this with fiscal years 2026 and 2027 in mind, knowing there is a projected decline in revenue from the city, as well as state and federal funding. To be clear, we did not solve all our problems in one fiscal year and with one budget cycle. But this budget reflects our SPS values. I'm confident that even with financial limitations that you will see, we have had overcome many of these challenges. This budget aligns with the priorities identified by our engaged community. So with that, I would like to thank our SEU and PTA partners for their engagement in this process and for helping us to keep student achievement front and center. I also like to thank the mayor and the city for their collaboration, and City Council President Owen Campen for his support. Finally, I want to thank all the members of the school committee for their thoughtful stewardship and guidance. Many times throughout this process, you have provided feedback that has led to meaningful decision points that will positively serve the district moving forward. All in all, this has been a very deeply collaborative process that will drive positive outcomes for our students and their families. Our fundamental principle revolves around nurturing the holistic development of every child. Our vision encompasses fostering an environment where intellectual curiosity, alongside social and academic growth, can thrive. Within our district, we uphold the ethos that innovative thinking, diversity, and lifelong learning are not just embraced, but celebrated. Ultimately, our aim is to equip each student with the tools to become independent learners and active contributors to our community. Tonight, our leadership team here today in front of you will offer a concise overview of their departments, highlighting their accomplishments this year and outlining proposed initiatives for the next fiscal year. They will also discuss how these plans align with our district goals. With that, I am going to hand it over to our very own Fran Gorski, our Chief Financial Officer, main architect of the bones of the budget that you will see today. So Fran.
Thank you, Dr. Carmona. So in the next two budget slides, I'm going to talk about the budget guidelines and budget development process. Our budgets are always student-facing, so we provide equity and full access for all of our students. We're still recognizing the deep impact the pandemic has had upon our students in providing social workers, counseling, and other provide for all the other needs that our students have coming out of the pandemic. We maintain and support grades pre-K through 12 classrooms, providing academic support and enrichment. We invest in programs, initiatives, and positions to promote school readiness for the youngest members of our community and ensure that our students who are ready to graduate are ready for college in their careers. On the accountability side, we make sure that the budget process is fully inclusive and transparent with all of our school communities, ensure that all legal and contractual mandates are met, including special education and multilingual education. Given the changing state and federal funding landscapes, budget efficiently and responsibly to ensure that we can address any shortages with grant reductions, and leverage an all-funds approach that includes grant dollars and partnerships. And finally, envision a thriving learning environment for all via the SPS strategic plan. And then we have our budget development process, which leads us to this evening. So this starts in the fall with confirming the current staffing plan for FY24. And then we review grant, revolving accounts, and fixed accounts. We begin the process of meeting with our school leaders and department heads. As we go into the winter, we start holding budget collaborative meetings, again with the principals and department heads. Through that process, we make sure that the data aligns with the school improvement plans. We finalize staffing and other requests. We have our finance meetings of the whole and discuss those requests with the school committee. We have our public hearing this evening. The school committee will then have a meeting, a deliberation, and vote upon the budget. And then the school department's budget becomes part of the city's budget and is voted upon by school committee. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our data director, Sam Elligine.
Thank you. Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Sam Elogene. I'm Director of Data Assessment and Accountability here in Somerville Public Schools. I'm just going to be giving a quick overview of the demographics and the special programs that we have here in the district. So on the upper left side, we can see our specialized programs for our students with disabilities. We have the ECIP program and the AIM program, which are housed at the Capuano Early Childhood Center for students in pre-K and K. We have the SEEK program and SKIP program for students at the John F. Kennedy School, as well as the Life Skills program. We have the AIM program for students in grades 1 through 8 at the Winter Hill Community Innovation School. And we have our alternative therapeutic schools, Next Wave Junior High and Full Circle High School. Lastly, we have the SHIP, PATH, ASD, and Life Skills program housed at Somerville High School. Now, as we move below to that box in the blue, we can see our programs for our multilingual learner students. So starting with Sonrisa program, which is our bilingual pre-K program, which is going to be housed at the East Somerville here. We also have the bilingual program Unidos here at the East Somerville for students that are in grades K through 8. And then moving on, we have the SEI program, which is Sheltered English Immersion, and the SLIFE program, which is students with limited or formal or interrupted formal education, and that is for students in grades K through 5 at the Argenziano and Healy School, for grades 5 through 8 at the Winter Hill Community Innovation School, and grades 9 through 12 for students at Somerville High School. And then moving over to the right-hand side, we have some selected student subgroups for students at each of our schools, the district, the state of Massachusetts, and out-of-district students. So just going across the top, we have the total number of students, high needs, which is a designator for students that are designated as low income, a student with a disability, a former or current multilingual learner. And then we have FLNE, which stands for First Language Not English, SWD, which is students with disabilities, low income, and ML, which stands for multilingual learner. The biggest takeaway from this really is that in our district we have more high need students, more students whose first language is not English, more students that have disabilities, more low income students, and more multilingual learner students compared to the state overall. And with that being said, I'm going to pass it over to our Chief of Staff, Amaro Enesike.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Amara Enesike, as Sam said, and I'm the Chief of Staff and Strategy here. And so in the development of this budget, I'm really proud to share that we engaged in a really comprehensive community engagement process through the entry plan. We heard from families, we heard from students, we heard from staff, community partners about what they wanted to see for the district, including where they would want us to prioritize. And so we heard loud and clear, as Dr. Carmona said, families, students, staff, and community members all coalesced around equity, access, and academic excellence. They spoke about the need to continue investment in social emotional learning, in expanded access for out-of-school time programming, and for student-facing initiatives. Just to put things in perspective, we put out a survey and we heard from over 2,600 people. We had over 42 focus groups, and we engaged in a number of root cause analysis sessions. And so we're confident that the budget you'll hear about today is reflective of the diverse community of Somerville Public Schools. I just want to say thank you to every single parent, student, family member, community partner who shared your expertise and your voice in the development of this budget. And so I will kick it over to Liz.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Liz Doncaster. I am the Director of Student Services, and I'll be with you for the next 3 slides. This first slide is about our attendance trends in the district. You see the dip there, which is coming back from COVID, and you can see we are on an upward turn. We have a lot of different initiatives going on with chronic absenteeism training for our deans and our social workers. We have our supervisors of attendance this year have done more than 300 home visits. We're trying to present you with engaging curriculum, SEL initiatives that will pull the students back into class, into school versus us pushing them in. So we're creating a more enriching environment for them. And so I believe those numbers will increase over time. we're looking here at the suspension rates. You see again that dip from COVID, and then we're on our way up. We're actually at the pre-COVID rates for suspension. But you can see we're a little bit above the state average in in-house suspensions and below the state average in out of school. And that's because DESE came out with that initiative that we had to come up with alternative programming as an alternative to suspension. So we have created a robust risk program at the high school, which is run by a restorative justice trained teacher with a counselor in the room. We have reorganized the GOLD program. We have a newcomer program. We have Elm House that wraps around services for those students. So we've come up with many initiatives that are keeping students in school even if they have a behavior infraction and they have access to the curriculum. Our dropout rate continues. We did have a little blip there a couple of years ago coming back from COVID. We are now coming back to the lower rates of dropout rates. And again, it's all due to the initiatives we've put in place, a stronger ELP program, new leadership in our SCALE program, the newcomer program, the GOLD program, all focused on hoping that our students want to come back to school and want to experience high school and go on to graduate and become productive humans in our community. Next, I'm going to throw it to Dr. Jessica Boston Davis.
Thanks, Liz, and good evening, everyone. My name is Jessica Boston Davis. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Academics. And here, going hand in hand with what Director Doncaster just shared, we have our District 4 and 5-year graduation rates, which have, over time, over the 10-year span, or 10-plus year span, have remained relatively stable. As we think about our plans for our graduates after graduation, you can see the results here from 2023. This is last year's data, but we anticipate the numbers this year to be very close to this, so we're sharing what we have gathered from last year. About 72% of our students pursued post-secondary educational opportunities, and you can see the breakdown here on the right. About 15% went into the workforce, 1% joined the military, and then other and unknown are figures collected by DESE. Other, 8%, it could be a student who took a gap year or traveled for a year or spent the year with family, and unknown is obviously we don't know the plans for about 7% of our graduates. Continuing on, for our 2024 postgraduate plans and merit scholarships, we continue to really lead the way in a number of quite impressive workforce commitments and scholarships and admission to selective colleges and universities. Similar to last year, we have 15 students that were accepted into our neighbor Tufts University, but then also a number of other universities in the greater Boston area, including Boston University, Boston College, MIT, Harvard, Northeastern, and then as you can see, a number of other really highly selective college acceptances. And along those same lines, we've received a number of our graduates have received a number of notable scholarships, including the Posse Foundation Scholarship at Bucknell. And despite the challenges with the FAFSA this year, 182 seniors, which is about 55% of our senior class, have submitted the FAFSA. And last year, this time, it was about 51% of seniors. So that's a huge shout out to our small but mighty college and career counseling group. And we also have some quite impressive workforce commitments, including 5 students who are joining the carpentry union and 1 student joining the electrical union. Continuing on, our district has been recognized in a number of awards within the state and nationally. Most recently, we named in our last school committee meeting, full school committee meeting, we have a student who is going to represent the state of Massachusetts in the Skills USA competition within CTE, but we have a number of students from our CTE program that have medaled in the Skills USA competition, but we also have had a number of awards in our arts and sciences. We've had a number of staff recognized, including Teacher of the Year and Local Writer in Residence. We've had our athletic recognitions, including staff who have been named as Coaches of the Year, and our cross-country team being ranked very highly. So we have a lot to celebrate with our graduates and our staff this year. With that being said, I'm going to pass it over back to Fran.
So our next two slides are to look at grant funding. Along with our general fund appropriation, the district also receives federal, state, and private grants, which help supplement all the important work that's accomplished in the district. These are some of the highlights for the current year. We had Title I funding in the amount of $1.1 million, which funds reading, math, pre-K teachers, also professional development and tutoring. We have a grant for improving ventilation and air quality. So we're working collaboratively with the city to address many projects within our buildings. There's a coordinated family and community engagement grant, which is very important to our SFLC department. We're in year 6 of the Commonwealth Preschool Partnership Initiative, and the state holds up Somerville as a model for other districts throughout the Commonwealth. We have the partnership with Leslie and MLE, and finally our largest grant is IDEA. So this is our special education grant. It helps fund SPED teachers, paras, and board-certified behavioral analysts. And then going forward to next year, so one of the things Dr. Kimona touched upon in his introduction and affects every district in the Commonwealth and throughout the country is the wind down of ESSER funding. So ESSER 3, we had $8.3 million, which we were able to use between last year and this year, basically split between about $4 million each year. That funding expires 09/30 of 24. So we'll have some additional funding available throughout the summer, and then obviously that funding goes away. We have our entitlement grants of Title I, II, III, and IV. We anticipate just under $1.6 million available for FY25. For IDEA, again, our special education grant, we expect a level allocation of just over $1.8 million. And then we also have the continuing partnership with Leslie, the ESL Bilingual Hub Grant. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Amara again.
So we're going to talk about how our budget aligns with the school committee goals, and you'll see that throughout the presentation from my colleagues. But this is just a statement to say that we were very intentional to make sure that the budget that we come up with collectively reflected the school committee goals, which is whole child teaching and learning, equitable access to programming, workforce diversity, and equitable resource allocation. And so you'll hear about that throughout the rest of the presentation. So next I will pass it over to Karen, Mariana, and Chris. Thank you.
Great. Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Woods, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Personnel Officer for the district. More than 80% of our budget is dedicated to people. These are the people who work with our students every day, providing instruction, intervention, social emotional support, and joy in our schools every day. And I think it's fitting to acknowledge in this moment that it is Teacher Appreciation Week, and so I'd like to extend that to all of our teachers and educators. And so in just a moment, we'll have the opportunity to take a deeper look into many of our departments. As we do so, it's important to remember that personnel, actual people, are behind all of the amazing work and initiatives that you're going to hear about. And it's the job of the people team, myself, our Director of Human Resources, Mariana McDonald, our Director of Educator Development, Chris Glenn, awesome, to work together toward our shared goals that you see here. And obviously those are lofty and not goals that we can reach alone. So we do that by collaborating with our amazing team, our amazing colleagues to recruit, hire, develop, support, and advance the dedicated and passionate staff that make up the Somerville Public Schools. So with that, I will turn it back over to Dr. Jessica Boston Davis.
Thank you, personnel team. And so with that, we're gonna turn into talk a little bit more about some of our core work, and that is teaching and learning. And I want to just acknowledge that before we go into some of our more specific departments, and as we think about the whole child and all of the different experiences that our children will face and that we will provide with our budget proposal here, we are undergoing a good amount of curriculum development work, and we are really excited about that and excited to support that in this budget. So with that said, as we think about academics and under the umbrella of academics, we have the following departments, along with out of school time, which is kind of braided very neatly and nicely into our academic experience. So in a moment, you're going to hear from the following departments: early ed, special education, multilingual learner education, social-emotional wellness, and our out-of-school time department, all under this umbrella of teaching, learning, academics, and how we're supporting our different populations of students in those ways. And so with that being said, I'm going to bring up Kathleen Baylor.
Thank you so much. Good evening. I'm Kathleen Baylor, and I'm honored to serve as the Early Childhood Director for the district. Thank you for the opportunity to share what we're doing with our youngest learners. I've divided the early childhood budget items into 3 categories. The first is to support high-quality inclusive classrooms. It's access, quality, and wraparound. This year, I'm proud to report that we have supported almost 650 children and families with access to equitable and high-quality education and care via our mixed delivery system through an incredibly dedicated and talented early childhood workforce. Our reach has grown from last year. You can see highlights in each category to the left of the slide there. Next year, we'll increase access to family engagement supports in collaboration with the SFLC, curriculum materials through our lending library, and professional development. To serve our Spanish-speaking families, we have moved our Sonrisa program to East Somerville Community School, and I'm proud to announce and pleased to announce that we're fully enrolled for next year. So that's great. We're very excited about this. In addition, we'll continue to increase the quality of programming to support kindergarten readiness by implementing the See Every Child teaching and learning framework in all of our pre-K classrooms throughout the city. We're launching our preschool early literacy indicator screener, which will help us measure how our young students are progressing in core literacy skills and provide targeted intervention for the students, because we know that targeted intervention helps when it happens early. We'll continue to support the whole child by expanding our universal screening tool to kindergarten and hiring an occupational therapist to an itinerant team to provide on-site intervention and special education services to children in our partner centers. So as we look towards strengthening our early childhood and access and quality and wraparound, next year we look forward to collaborating with the First 5 Steering Committee to strategically braid our funding and support our shared vision for early childhood education. And I will now turn it over to my colleague, Ildefonso Arellano.
Thank you, Kathleen. My name is Ildefonso Arellano, and I have the distinct pleasure of serving as the Director of Special Education. My goal here tonight is to provide you all with a brief summary of some of the work that the Special Education Department is doing and will continue to do to help support our special education students and families. I did divide up this slide into 3 different buckets, if you will: programming, services, and specialized instruction. As many of you are aware, next year we will be transitioning to a new IEP form as mandated by the state. So we are currently providing training to all of our staff and families, and we'll continue to do that into the summer as we prepare to implement the new IEP for the next school year. In addition to that, we will be developing clearer program descriptions for our specialized programs, In the area of services, we just contracted with Learning Ally, which is an online platform to provide audio books and audio textbooks for our special ed students who struggle with reading. So for next year, our plan is to continue using this platform and extend it to all students as a Tier 2, Tier 3 support. In addition to, in terms of the specialized instruction, we are partnering with two organizations to help provide some consultation and some targeted support and continued program development for 3 of our specialized programs. So the Triumph Center will continue to work with staff from our program for autism. So that's our AIM program, and our program for our students with social emotional needs, which is our SEEK program over at Kennedy. And then our partnership with Landmark will continue to provide, again, some consultation and specific professional development for our staff that work with our students in the language-based learning disabilities program. So with that, I will turn it over to my colleague, Paulina.
Hi everyone, my name is Paulina Metropolis. I'm the Director of Multilingual Learner Education. I've divided my slide here into programming, professional learning and pathways, and partnerships with families. Enrollment continues to increase in our multilingual learner population. Currently, 1 in 4 students are identified as multilingual learners. This past year, we've added ESL staffing. We've redesigned our GOAL program, which is our alternative pathway for SLIFE students older age at the high school. Next year, we are increasing our number of ESL teachers as well. This is going to impact ESL staffing at a number of schools, including the Brown, Capuano, East, Healy, Kennedy, and West. We're also adding a bilingual adjustment counselor to the Healy. This is due to the significant increase in multilingual learner students at the Healy School. In terms of professional learning and pathways, we've been working with our educators to continue to develop their expertise in working with SLIFE students and continuing to build out our para pathway with Lesley University. Next year, our focus is really district-wide, continuing to advocate for equitable and inclusive practices for multilingual learners, including SLIFE students. We also have a new partnership with UMass Boston that's going to continue to build out our pathway for ESL licensure. We're focusing on our early childhood grades, pre-K and K, as we're moving to a more inclusive model that includes all multilingual learners at all language levels. So we're providing support to our teachers there. And lastly, we're continuing to build out our partnerships with families, working with the Welcome Project as well as SFLC and Scale to continue to provide leadership opportunities for our multilingual learner families. With that, I'll pass it to Liz.
Hi, again, I'm Liz Doncaster, and I have the pleasure of serving as your Director of Student Services. We're very excited to continue our SAL initiatives this year. We rolled out about 6 or 7 restorative justice trainings at the Tier 1, and Tier 2, and Tier 3 level. We have 19 classrooms rolling out an early adopter for the second step, which is our evidence-based researched SEL curriculum that is being explicitly taught. We're excited to offer an SEL Academy for more second step training, restorative justice training, and our new position, our stipend teacher leader position of the SEL specialist. This is an important position, and I thank you for funding it, because anytime you roll out a new initiative for social emotional learning as far as restorative justice and second step, you need a resource in the building for folks to go to, for an expert in the building on those platforms so that they can ask questions and they can use as a resource. So we're very happy to be able to offer that to our K-8 schools, an SEL specialist in each building. We are also excited to train students. 20 students this summer will be trained in restorative justice Tier 1 circles. This was asked for by the high school principal and K-8s. We have students already signing up. It's very exciting to see them in our mediation program, peer-to-peer, and now in our restorative justice circles. We have a new initiative that came out of data we looked at. We are offering now a social emotional and behavior behavioral crisis team. This will lift the load from the student support teams in the building when certain students or classrooms sort of are having behavior challenges. We now have a specialized team that will come in and spend time in that classroom observing and creating quality behavior plans to change the behavior and to address the lagging skills for those students that are taking all those resources away from the rest of the school. So very excited to be bringing that into the district next year. And with that, I will hand it off to Rosanna. Come on up.
Thank you. Good evening. I am Rosanna Parabello, and I have the pleasure of serving as the out-of-school time director for the district. I'm going to break it down in terms of summer programming, school year, and funding. In terms of the summer, we have plans to offer a robust offering of summer program with returning, new, and revised programming, programming based on academics, enrichment, recreation, or a combination of all three. Lots of planning has gone into this, and we're very excited to offer this for our students this coming summer. In terms of the school year, we plan to serve close to 2,000 students in after-school programs, in enriching and engaging programs such as En route, Becoming a Man, and Girl Start, and new clubs and from various organizations, both community partners or larger partners in the community. And then in terms of funding, we plan to continue our commitment with funding from the city and support from the city in offering equitable access to programming and expand after-school seats. And this year we have piloted Right Brain Curriculum Program, and we plan to continue that partnership and also continue our new out-of-school time clubs and expand on those and offer them for multiple age groups with focus on not just the little ones but also middle school programming. And with that, I'm going to hand it back to our superintendent, Dr. Carmona.
Thank you, Rosanna. I have to pause a little bit just to make sense of all this stuff that we have said. We had a minute, our Chief of Personnel, Karen Woods, mentioned that more than 80% of our budget is devoted to our staff. So that's our biggest leverage. That's our biggest investment. And I just wanted to highlight that this is a human experience, a human-centered investment. So I'm really proud of that. And I also want to make sure that we understand that as a community, we are still growing and becoming better. And that is a feeling that we want to convey, is that we continue to invest in significant amounts of resources around instruction. And that is also a testament of the commitment that we have to provide better instruction for all our community as well as better outcomes for our kids. So I really want to thank both the work that is happening on the personnel side as well as on the curriculum side, but also everyone here who works really hard to create a coherent system for all the communities. So thank you. And I also wanted to thank our educators. We were in our school committee meeting last Monday. We celebrated Teacher Education or Educators Week. The week before, we celebrated our principals. Also, nurses have been celebrated today. So I just wanted to make sure that we do due process and due celebration to those who do the hard work. So thank you, everyone, for that. Out of school time is a complex set of web of efforts and supports that are enacted in Somerville. Unlike other districts, Somerville has a significant investment through our internal systems. The work that Rosanna does is a lot of moving pieces. So we have heard from families loud and clear. They want us to continue to invest in out-of-school time programs, and we continue to do that. And I just wanted to reassure the community that we remain fully dedicated to providing families and students with more opportunities to excel and to develop skills that complement the classroom learning. We have deliberately increased our capacity to support students, particularly those needing access to address academic gaps. We are also grateful for the Mayor's commitment to supporting our initiatives, as evidenced by her generous gift or her generous pledge of close to $500,000, which has been added to our OST funding programming. Again, I know that this is a source of strength and also a source of growth. And so we want to thank the community for their support, and also to let you know that we continue to work hard on making sure that we provide access to all our kids through the out-of-school time programs. And with that, I am going to have to pass the baton or the mic to our Director of Enrollment, our wonderful Teresa Rodriguez.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Teresa Rodriguez. I'm the Director of Enrollment, and I'm pleased to represent this group of experienced, multilingual, welcoming folks at the Enrollment Office. This year, we've enrolled about 1,100 students. We'll continue to do that all summer. We'll have 250 students that usually register at least in the summer and will be available. While we serve mainly as a bureaucratic function for the district, collecting paperwork and proving residency, we're constantly focused on helping new families feel welcome here in Somerville. This is our team with new winter accessories that we're offered by a community grant at Tufts, and backpacks that we offer families when they come to our office if they need support in person from cradles to crayons. We look forward to welcoming families throughout the summer, the families that Paulina, that Ildefonso, that everybody talked about. If you have any questions, please let us know. Those are our current numbers with essentially a similar projection for class size and enrollment. I'm happy to introduce our Director of Equity and Excellence, Ms. Kaylee Galatano.
Good evening. I'm Kaylee Galatano, Director of Equity and Excellence for Somerville Public Schools, a job that I love and am happy to do. I will talk about the continued work around centralized resources, our continued efforts in diversification of curriculum materials, and a new initiative that we are working on with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. And the continued development of centralized resources for staff and families, we're going to expand development of a student and staff handbook, which is focused on proactive and responsive solutions to incidents of racism, homophobia, transphobia, and xenophobia, which will also include the inclusive vocabulary list that we have already assembled and continue to build upon. The continued diversification of curricular materials will include, but is not limited to, continued work on the project, which is Literacy Through a Lens of Equity, which is being funded by a grant that we have through BU. It's examining the themes and criticality in books that we are using in our classrooms. And we'll have new work around developing a curriculum that will provide materials to help educators introduce students who are in younger grades to inclusive language and themes. In a new initiative, we are developing Student Equity Action Teams, or SEAT, which is a collaborative CPAR project involving youth in each of our schools, each of our K through 8 schools, and it is in partnership with the Harvard Graduate School of Education. I would now like to pass it to my colleague and Somerville superstar, Regina.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Regina Bertoldo, Director of the SFLC's Office of Basic Needs and Housing Support Services, and I'm filling in for Ruth Santos, who is celebrating her daughter's graduation college this week. Thank you. So our slide summarizes the work of all of SFLC's various offices. SFLC's pipeline of programs is grounded in equity and language justice. And all of our programs grow and adapt yearly to meet changing needs. Next year, we will focus our efforts on stabilizing and standardizing programming across the district. We plan to increase professional development opportunities both by and for our staff, and to continue to innovate around best practices and engaging and partnering with families in the community. I will now call back Mr. Garski.
So our next several slides are focused on finance and the budget itself. This first slide is the per pupil expenditures. So this is based upon the end of year financial report that's filed annually with DESE. It's inclusive of all funds, the general fund budget, city spending on schools, and grant funding. So as you can see, based upon the most recently available numbers, we're spending just over $26,000 per student. This is a little bit more than $2,000 more than last year, and about $5,500 more than the state average. And as you go across the board, in almost every category, Somerville is at or above or well above the state average. And a couple that I would like to point out, in teaching, we are spending $1,500 more than the state average. For guidance, counseling, testing, we're about $700 or $800 over the state average. And for PD, we're about $100 over the state average. And then we get into the budget. So our budget is split into two parts. Basically, we have the operation maintenance side, which is the non-salary budget. So this supports our operations, our contracts, our transportation, and our out-of-district tuition. Last year, we had a total budget of $17.9 million. In the current budget proposal, we're asking for a $700,000 increase, or 3.91%. This increased funding will largely fund the embedded counseling and out-of-school time contracts moving over to the general fund from ESSER. And we go into the detail on the non-salary side of the budget. So as I mentioned, we have the ESSER component with the wind down of ESSER. We have $410,000 in embedded counseling contracts, including Home for Little Wanderers, Riverside and Neighborhood House. We have Becoming a Man at Winter Hill. We have Working on Womanhood at the high school. And we have some additional SPED contracts. At our schools, we have funding for parent engagement pilots at the Healy and Winter Hill. We also have funding for a follow-up accreditation visit for the high school. In district-wide, we have funding for a transportation contract to provide shuttle service for 20 students traveling to Winter Hill at Edgerly. We have an agreement with the Y to provide transportation for swimming classes at the Kennedy Pool. We have funding for a new data dashboard. We have additional funding for restorative justice trainings, as Director Doncaster mentioned, and also additional funding for curriculum and software. And we have funding for a consultant to align our payroll and HR systems. Now, in the non-salary budget, this also covers all mandated costs related to special education, MLE, and homeless transportation. And it's important to note the 18.6 number that I mentioned to you, about 10 million of that is related to either SPED transportation or out-of-district tuitions. And then we transition to the salary side of the budget. As it's been discussed this evening, it's about 82% of our budget. This provides funding for our educators, our support staff, and our leadership teams. The budget proposal requests a $5.9 million increase, or 7.25%. This increased funding will largely support COLAs, compliance positions, and the transition of 26.6 FTEs from the ESSER grant to the district budget. In this next slide, I'm going to give you details on the positions, which include some general fund additions on the left-hand side of the screen there. Those are both new positions and positions that were added post-budget last year, and then the ESSER positions that we're looking to move to the general fund budget. So starting first with the general fund, on the left-hand side, the general fund positions, we have ESL specialists. There are 3 positions. We have a board-certified behavior analyst as part of a new intervention team. We have a drug and alcohol counselor, 0.5 FTE for Full Circle Next Wave. We have Harvard teaching residents, 4 positions, but will be at the cost of 2 positions because we're getting reimbursement from Harvard University. This is part of the superintendent's coaching proposal. We have a SPED adjustment counselor, 0.5 add at the high school. A dean of students, a 0.5 add at the Brown to provide additional admin support. We have a multilingual counselor at the Healy and also a gen ed para at the Healy. We have SPED special education paras at the Capuano, a bilingual CTE para at the high school. This is a transition of a position from the Perkins grant to the general fund budget. A utility aid at Winter Hill. Some additional common planning time stipends. This is related to early release Wednesdays starting next school year for every Wednesday. And then a new proposal for special education subs. And on the ESSER side, the positions that are moving to the general fund are math interventionist and teachers, 6 positions, reading interventionist, 2 positions, MLE specialist and teachers, 6 positions, SPED teachers and an academic evaluator, 4 positions, a social studies teacher, 2 family liaisons, a counselor, an equity coach, a translator liaison, and an innovation specialist that was charging to the grant. And our final slide on the budget side is our funding and estimated revenue. So this includes this is a look at both FY24 and the changed FY25. It includes our general fund appropriation with an increase of about 6.7%. Our private, state, and federal grants are decreasing because, as I mentioned earlier, we have the wind down of ESSER. We have the special education circuit breaker. This is a reimbursement program that was started about 20 years ago by the state to address the high cost of special education out of district placement. We have our revolving accounts of food service and primarily community schools and some smaller ones as well. And when you put that all together, we have all funds-wise an increase of just over $3 million. And with that, I am going to turn it back over to the superintendent.
Thank you, everyone. I really want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you for your unwavering support of our fiscal year 2025 budget, our school committee, our Mayor Valentine and her team, our city council members, our SEU partners, our PTA partners as well, our amazing principals, our families, educators, our wonderful central office team, and also our residents in Somerville. I also want to recognize our community members. And I know the font is probably very small, but you can see, and it will be impossible for me to start naming and calling each one of those, but that is a testament. That is a testament of the amazing cadre of support and collaboration we are blessed with in our district. Your dedication and commitment to investing in education are truly commendable and deeply, deeply appreciated. It is through your generosity and collaborative efforts that we're able to strive towards a shared vision of empowering future generations. Your belief in our mission strengthens our resolve to excel and make a positive impact in the lives of our students and our community at large. Thank you once again for your invaluable support. Together, we're shaping a brighter future for our youth. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to hand the microphone to our chair, the finance chair, so the microphone is yours.
Hi again. In my excitement to get started, I neglected to introduce myself. My name is Sarah Phillips. I am proud to represent Ward 3 on the school committee and to serve as the chair of the finance subcommittee. Thank you all for your presentation, for bringing this budget that we've been talking about for months and months and months to life, and for demonstrating really clearly how closely aligned it is to our goals and our vision for our students and community. Thank you. The floor is now open for public comment. We have just a few people in the audience, but if any of you would like to make a comment, feel free to come on up and sign up.
No pressure.
I'm practicing my wait time. I'm thinking I'm pretty good at it, looking at those head nods. So with that, this hearing is adjourned. Thank you all for coming.